yourself type fix like towels or duct tape, but just make sure those are ready ahead of the next incoming cold.
No.
Yeah, it's certainly things you don't think about around here because typically our winter storms, Alex, are kind of in and out and we're done. As you mentioned, the weather teams are kind of wore out. I think people were out because we had back-to-back winter storms and we had all this Arctic air in between. So the duration to me is something that will stick with me about this winter that we've had so far. Not so much the individual storm, though it was big. It's just that it's been so consistent, and that's something that's not very common here in the Carolinas.
Yeah, I will say the leaking roofs and things like that. Our own anchor, Chad Silver, has been dealing with that at his house. And I know that others have been dealing with some of those leaking issues as well. So try to clear out those gutters, especially as temperatures are supposed to warm up, especially into Friday, and get some of that sunshine. That'll really help increase the... It's crazy how we've watched the snow here just go like this. Because of those overnight temperatures, the dew points being higher, and it just eats away the snow.
Yeah, last night was a lot. When I woke up this morning, you're right, I noticed probably the most melting I've seen so far in the past 24 hours. That kind of warmer, like you said, more humid overnight. We lost a lot of the snow depth really, really quickly because of that. The more humid airs definitely had a big part of that. Something else we'll have to watch out for, as things warm back up, sometimes that's when pipes have their biggest issues. When the thawing starts, we start to see more leaks develop. I know from a city standpoint, that's when the water mains become more of an issue. As the ground starts to thaw out a little bit, they tend to see a little bit more issues. The other thing is, and this is something I'm sure as a driver, everyone will start experiencing, potholes are going to become a big, big issue as things start to warm up because that ground is going to start breaking up as things loosen up. Before we go tonight, we'll take one more look here at the Clash, which is going on right now. I really got to give kudos to those fans. Even though it's like, what is it? What do you guys have? Like 36, 37? That's still cold, Alex. I mean, they're out there. It's kind of yucky out.
Yeah.
I give them credit for being out there.
Those grandstands are packed.
Yeah, that's amazing. I love to see all the fans out. That shows how excited folks are for NASCAR, and especially be at a local track like that. That is such a cool thing to have at Bowman Gray Stadium there. And I can't wait to hear from some of the fans tonight to see what they said and how excited they were. I am so happy NASCAR does this, gets back to the roots, goes to these smaller tracks, really gets back to the fans, and this is what it's all about. So be safe out there tonight, guys. We'll keep an eye on the snow chances tomorrow morning. Hopefully a warmer weekend ahead. We'll talk to you tomorrow, but stick around. We've got more WCNC and FMY Plus coming up.
Hi there, everyone. Thanks so much for being with us here on Live Impact News. I'm Vanessa Rufus. We'll be together for the next couple of hours, bringing you the latest headlines from around the area and breaking live news feeds. Wanted to start off with a new briefing we got from educators and other school officials from across Minnesota that announced that they had filed a lawsuit today to block the federal government from some of its immigration enforcement operations on or near public school property. So let's go ahead and listen into that.
Safe locations, locations free of impacts like we've just heard about. This wasn't a complex legal theory. It was a simple and powerful promise that a child's classroom should be a place of learning, not of fear. It ensured that immigration enforcement could not happen on our school grounds, on our buses, or near our buildings. The removal of this long-standing protection has led to immediate and real consequences for our learning community. We've seen increased anxiety amongst our students. We've seen decreases in attendance and families questioning whether school remains a safe and predictable place for their children. Schools function best when families have trust in the educational institutions, and that cannot happen with the fear and instability that has been part of today's world. We see it every day. We have over 24 families who have experienced and expressed profound fears. We have some that have self-deported. Others are keeping their children home. We have dedicated staff members of color who now carry their passports with them at all times, just hoping to avoid wrong detention. We've also seen students who were once excelling in their classes now failing, their mental health shattered by the continued and constant weight of this anxiety. This is not an environment for learning that any of us accept, and we believe that this policy change is misguided and harmful. Now, some of you might ask, why is Duluth taking a lead in this? Why are we interested? Well, our district has not experienced the large-scale enforcement that we've seen here in other districts. It's important for us to stand up as good neighbors. That's what we've seen in Minnesota. Whether it's in the streets of Minneapolis or whether it's the neighbors to the north in Duluth, we want to stand up for our neighbors here in Minnesota and across the country. Many districts are facing huge and disproportionate pressure and putting pressure on freedom of speech, and this is something that needs to stop immediately as well. It's important that when many districts are unable to speak up because of this pressure, that other districts speak up on their behalf, the Minnesota neighbors that they deserve. We want to fight on their behalf and behalf of all students in the state of Minnesota. This lawsuit is more than just about our district or the districts that are signed on. It's about standing up for the fundamental principle that schools must remain safe and welcoming environments that are secure places for every child, regardless of their background or immigration status. And now I'd like to present Superintendent Brenda Lewis from Fridley.
Thank you so much. Brenda Lewis, Superintendent of Fridley Public Schools. I'm actually going to abandon my pre-prepared talking points. So this morning, I had a glimmer of hope with the 700 ICE agents being immediately withdrawn, right? That glimmer of hope lasted maybe 3 minutes, and all of a sudden, John got a call from me at about 9:15 this morning, and this is how 600 of our elementary students were welcome this morning. We have 2 elementaries. This is how one of the elementaries started. 6 ICE vehicles. Now remember, there's more than one ICE agent per vehicle. One of them had 4 agents, came up and back, up and back, up and back, right outside of our school. We had a mother that arrived with her child who is legally in the United States, who was terrified and was followed by 2 ICE vehicles for no apparent reason. Our principal, who is always out at arrival, got yelled at, screamed at, mocked, videoed, and photoed by 4 ICE agents in the same SUV. A board member of ours was followed from her residence with her 3-year-old child in the back of the car. Both are natural-born U.S. citizens, all the way to her child's daycare. Do you know why this is happening? Because I am telling the truth on behalf of our district. That is why this is happening. This is clear and present terror. Can you imagine walking into your elementary school? I was literally out front with our security team and our staff walking up to every family that came a few minutes after arrival saying, ICE is here, please stay in your car, we got you, please don't speed, please don't put on your turns, or please put on your turn signal, be very careful. Most of our families are families of color. They are targeted. Yesterday, when I was doing the patrols that I do every morning and every afternoon with our security team, we had ICE spotted near a setting for special ed self-contained program. I went down there and I was terrified, not because I saw ICE, but because I saw 3 international talent, our teachers, that are here legally in the United States. If we did not have them, we would not have special ed programming, especially for our students in our setting for our most vulnerable. I saw them walking, and I was terrified, and I immediately had our security team member pull over just randomly, and I got out of our patrol vehicle, as I call it. It's a Chrysler Pacifica. I know, I wish it had a little more muscle, but yeah. So I got out and I ran across the snow, and I said, and all of our international talent know me because I'm their sponsor, right? And we get to know each other even before they arrive, and they are such an amazing part of our community. And I said, ICE is here, ICE is here. Please go back to your school. And they're like, they call me DBL, Dr. Brenda Lewis. DBL, 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 we're just going to the store. And I'm not going to name the store. The store is like literally 2 blocks away. I said, absolutely not. Get back to the school. Where is your ride share? Get back. I would not allow them to walk to the store. This is our clear and present reality. This is not a joke. This is not exaggeration. And I honestly could care less right now about politics. We need this to stop, and we need this to stop immediately. And the theme that we have right now in our district is, thank God for Duluth. We got Duluth. So please believe us. Please honor. I invite any of you to come and help in my district. It is pure and present evil, and we are denying children the right to human dignity and basic safety. And our staff shows up every single day. And guess what? The call went out, and we had so many volunteers there sanctuarying our school today. And that's exactly what's happening now at all of our schools. Thank you for your time today. I'm sorry to introduce you. Hello.
All right, folks, and while the next speaker is getting up to the podium, we're going to take a quick break. We will return to this briefing in just a few minutes. We appreciate you being with us here on Live Impact News. Hi, folks. Thanks for sticking with us here on Live Impact. We will rejoin this press conference with school leaders in the Minneapolis area. We're seeing several districts talking about the impacts of federal immigration operations in the Twin Cities area and announcing a suit to put a stop to those. Let's listen in.
IELLO. I'm a high school social studies teacher, a girls soccer coach, and a proud member of the Columbia Heights Federation of Teachers. Since Operation Metro Surge began, there has been monumental destruction and disruption to our student learning and our broader school community. Today, although Liam Ramos has returned home, 4 students from our district remain in ICE custody and detention. Dozens of students have had parents taken into ICE custody, and hundreds of our district families have been directly impacted by the violence that ICE has brought to our streets. The most obvious impact that ICE presence in our community has been on student attendance. When Operation Metro Surge began, many students stayed home or had spotty attendance. When the second semester began at the high school last week, students were offered an online option. About 300 students opted to stay home and take classes online, which is about 1/4 of our entire student body. This is disproportionately affecting our Latino students. Their absence is felt in the hallways, in extracurricular activities, and in the classrooms. Many students shared with me that they know that they don't learn well online, and they would rather remain in school with their peers and their teachers. However, regardless of the citizenship status of these students and their families, many are afraid to leave the house and come to school in person. Last week, many of us held our breath when President Trump and Tom Homan promised de-escalation. However, in the last week alone, we have seen ongoing violence towards our students and our community. On my way to work last Wednesday, I saw 3 ICE vehicles at a park near our school. A student in my AP World History class then arrived late to school, only to let me know he had been pulled over by ICE on his way to school and was going to spend the class period in the office with the counselors. Today, this student had his head down all of class. Fear for himself and his family have made him unable to learn. On Saturday night, our girls' soccer team forfeited a game because too many of the girls were fearful to leave their houses. A mother who herself often volunteers to drive all the players whose parents are sheltering at home, was herself then followed and menaced by ICE while her 2 teenage daughters were in the car with her. Just this Monday morning, 7 ICE vehicles were loitering in our student and staff parking lots at 6 a.m. before school began. None of this should be legal. This tension, fear, and violence permeate our communities every single day. Our staff and community have come together to provide food, assistance, and safe rides for students, but sometimes it feels that we are no match for the agents, their guns, their shiny SUVs, and little to no regard for public safety or following the law. I myself am a proud daughter of an immigrant father from South America. I'm a living testament to the value immigrants bring to this great state. I see myself in the students of Columbia Heights. These families are a blessing to our communities, and they place huge value in their children's education. Their children deserve the opportunity to learn and grow up in a safe environment that values them. As long as these actions continue, the federal government and ICE will continue to undermine our children's ability to learn and our capacity to serve them. ICE operations near schools must end now. Thank you. And I'll now introduce my colleague, Peg Nelson.
Hello, my name is Peg Nelson, and I've been a teacher in the Columbia Heights School District for the last 33 years. I currently teach at Valley View Elementary, and I am a proud member of the Columbia Heights Federation of Teachers Local 710. Immigration enforcement activities had significant adverse effects on our schools. Many of our families are afraid to send their children to school. One day last month, we had nearly 200 students absent from our school of 570 students. On average, we now have 130 students absent because they're afraid to come to school. Our school population is 66% Hispanic. They are disproportionately impacted. Our district recently began offering an online option for students who did not feel safe coming to school in person, but we don't have enough resources to accommodate every request. I fear students will fall behind because they are unable to safely attend classes. We have community members patrolling around our schools at drop-up and dismissal times to keep watch for immigration agents. We had an incredible traumatic dismissal time in recent times, and we heard the patrollers blowing the whistles around dismissal, and one of our staff members went running outside. We have many students who walk to and from school, and that staff member grabbed the students and got them safely home or back into the building. One of my students told me the story, and he said that he almost didn't make it home. He almost got taken. Our staff person had saved him. There were tears in his eyes. And it's like, what do you say to that? A high school special education teacher told me the story of several high school students that have been pulled over and questioned by immigration agents. One student has a speech impairment. He reported that the agents mocked him and asked him where his mommy was because he knew the student drove his mother to and from work. He knew the student was vulnerable, and the message was that the agent would eventually detain the student's mother. The student arrived at school shaking and crying from this terrifying and cruel encounter. Our district has had at least 7 students detained, 5 of which were elementary school students. At least 27 family members of students in our building alone have been detained. It is hard to keep track because we have some family members that are just disappearing. Our school is helping many families navigate the loss of household members, including sometimes custodial parents. We are providing rent and food support for many of our families. Immigration enforcement activities are adversely impacting all of our students, irrespective of immigration status. It is not normal for elementary-aged kids to see a large portion of their classmates gone. It is not normal for our hallways to have refrigerators, freezers, and stacks of boxes from floor to ceiling with food and supplies for our families that are afraid to leave their homes. While teachers are trying to maintain normalcy for our students, there is a level of fear that constantly permeates our buildings. Teachers and administrators who are delivering food to families that are afraid to leave their homes have been followed by immigration agents. Some of the agents waved and smirked at them as if to convey, now we know where they live. Their intent is clearly to instill fear in us all.
Thank you, everyone. We'll now take questions.
And before we get to this Q&A session here, we will take a quick break, and in 2 minutes we'll return with the rest of this briefing. Thanks for sticking with us. All right, folks, welcome back to Live Impact News. We will rejoin this press conference from the Minneapolis area from just a few hours ago today, where we heard schools talking about their suit in order to put a stop to the federal immigration operations they say have been hurting their students. And we're now at the Q&A session with media there, so let's listen in.
You made a comment about, thank God we have Duluth as like a sigh of relief that it suggested to me that maybe other districts are hesitant to put their name on this lawsuit. Can you speak to that, and is that a fair characterization that some school districts are fearful to sign on?
I mean, wouldn't you be? Last week, I was followed in the morning on the way to work. I was followed in the evening on the way from my office to a elementary school that's a reasonable distance away to a bingo night. 3 board members had ICE vehicles sitting outside their homes all day. Last Thursday, a board member was followed by ICE for over an hour. Last Thursday, I literally called John and said, "Are you sure that you're up for this? Because this is what you're going to get." I do not blame any other district for whatever variety of reasons for not joining. I do not. This is what happens when you speak up at the same time. We need the helpers to come forward, and they can't come forward if they don't know what is happening. And Duluth doesn't have to sign on to this. No district does. Their experience, they could easily sit this one out. But John and his district have decided to put themselves right in the target. And that's why I say, I'm so glad we have Duluth, and we really normalize that now, because they don't have to do this. They don't have to do this, but they are standing up for what's right. So I completely understand why districts are not joining. It's scary. They retaliate against you very abruptly, abrasively, and it's all intentional to get me to stay quiet.
Have you talked privately to other district leaders about this, and they've expressed that to you, that we just can't do this because we're too afraid, or have you had those direct conversations?
We meet as superintendent groups, and then we just talk about what all of our current present reality is.
I think one other thing that I've heard too is directly from superintendents that they're afraid of retaliation. They're afraid of retribution, because that's the playbook these days. They're afraid that federal funding will be taken away, or that there will be false allegations or investigations that are meant just to stop this type of thing. Even talking with the leaders in Duluth, there was legitimate concern that they were concerned that by doing this, we're going to bring attention to Duluth and have Duluth targeted. And so when your community leaders are concerned about that, it's important for us to weigh that piece. But again, federal funding, investigation, all of those things, I think that those are concerns that we've heard. And I know that others are still considering joining and considering that, and I think that we need to look at that as well. I think that there also needs to be a national movement for this. One of the other thing that I think is misrepresented a little bit in the press right now is that we as districts are paying for this. There isn't any taxpayer money or any school district money that is being used for this, and I think that's important to note, that we're being funded through Education Minnesota, and I think it's important that we all stand up and speak up for our neighbors.
Minnesota families, children, and educators are already dealing with the impacts from COVID. I feel like people haven't gotten over that yet. Can you talk about the long-term impacts of this and what it will have in years to come?
Sure. So I think, as we've heard, districts that are having hundreds and hundreds of students missing, and districts that are seeing this type of tragedy unfolding day in and day out are really, really being impacted. And I think about Keith Ellison yesterday was talking about the impacts, and he remembers when he was 5 years old seeing the military trucks rolling through his town of Detroit when there was civil unrest there. And so I think those are the things people remember. And interestingly, when we had our meeting of Metro superintendents, there were probably 40 people on the call, and what we hear from so many people is this feels like another pandemic. It feels just as impactful. There's just as much planning. There's just as much work behind it. There's just as much caring and flexibility on the part of our educators. Yet at the same time, this isn't something that came from nature. This is man-made. This is a choice. And if we make other choices and bring protected status back to schools, at least that will take the heat down and provide opportunity for our students.
I reached out to DHS for comment about this lawsuit and the policy and their decision to rescind the policy that you guys are would like to see restored. And they said that, quote, ICE is not going to schools to arrest children. We are protecting children. They go on to say that criminals can no longer hide in schools. They can use there may be a situation where arrest may be made to protect public safety if a dangerous felon were to flee into a school. Basically saying this allows them to use common sense to enforce immigration law, is my paraphrasing of what this is saying. Has there been any instance in which those people they described, a child sex offender, an illegal immigrant who is a felon, who has been arrested on school property? Does anybody know of an instance of that happening?
I do not, but the interesting thing is they had that power for those types of situations with that legal guidance. And I think it's a purposeful taking away of policy to create chaos, to create disorder, to create fear. It's not about having that guidance in place, it's about creating fear. And that's the unfortunate piece. Everybody here who's working, there's so much extra stress. You could have that in place. And I think protected status for schools, that's what this is about. But also when we think about protected status for hospitals, where people are seeking medical care or avoiding it now, or places of worship, or when you think about students and people who might be sex trafficked and are afraid to go to the authorities now because they're afraid of being immigration enforcement. I've talked to law enforcement officers who really are so frustrated with this as well because they've worked for years to put in supports for building the relationships, and they've all been eroded now. And so there's a lot of frustration by a lot of people. We're all about law enforcement. We're all about legal enforcement of important things, but we can do that with this in place.
And I'd just like to make one quick correction. Education Minnesota is not paying for this lawsuit. We have been fortunate to have 2 law firms that are doing this work pro bono. So I just wanted to make that correction.
I apologize.
No, that's okay. That's
Other questions?
Thank you.
Can you talk about next steps? I mean, are you hoping that other districts will sign on here? You talked a lot about the reality you're living through right now. What do you hope next steps in this is happening?
I just want ICE out of our schools, all of our schools. I'm also worried that this is a national pattern. I have some sort of webinar, something coming up where I'm talking to leaders from across the nation that are terrified and they want to meet with me to learn how to prepare for ICE. That's ridiculous. I would rather talk to them about literacy strategies or things like that. So what we want, and anyone can correct me here, as a collective, please, just let us have our safe learning environments back. That is what we are asking for.
And with the lawsuit itself, are you hoping that more districts will sign on? What's the plan?
I mean, go ahead, John.
We hope for that as well. And related to that other question, I think when we're considering immigration reform, we've heard a lot of things about body cameras, we've heard a lot of things about removal of masks, but I haven't heard on the national conversation piece about returning protected status to schools, so that would be something else that we'd like. And then the second part of your question?
Just, next steps for the lawsuit.
Yeah.
Answered it. Thanks.
Great.
Just a quick question for the attorney who spoke initially, just to understand, to make sure I'm understanding the legal argument you're making is that by DHS rescinding this policy without a proper comment period, it didn't go through the legal process to take away that policy without public comment and a rulemaking period. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct. If you look at the complaint, the 2 counts that are in there are under it's a statute called the Administrative Procedures Act, and anytime you make a significant change in policy like that, there are certain procedures that you have to follow, and so what we're arguing is that DHS did not follow those procedures.
Dawn, I want to go back to what you were saying about conversations about immigration reform focusing on body cameras and masks. Are you talking about congressional negotiations for DHS funding? Is that something you're going
Yes,
to
thinking about congressional funding. If we're going to continue to fund an army of oppression, I think that we at least need this in place so that we can keep our schools safe.
And have you been in touch with anybody in Congress?
And folks, that wraps up here this press conference with school leadership in Minnesota. Just quickly wanted to point out in our 3-box, we also have a live look in Winston-Salem at the Cookout Clash, which you probably noticed doesn't have a lot of activity. And that's because, as you see on the bottom left, the radar's pretty active, so they are in a rain delay. We'll keep you updated as we go on throughout the evening here on Live Impact. Meantime, we do have a live shot to show to you from Joint Base Andrews as Vice President J.D. Vance is set to depart for Milan, Italy, as we are getting quite close to the Winter Olympics beginning, and he will be among those representing the United States in a U.S. delegation with the opening ceremony on Friday. So we'll get a live look here, and we'll take a peek for just a second to see who we have here getting off of what will be Air Force Two. So yeah, there you have it. We'll go ahead and take a quick 2-minute break, folks. Back on the other side with more Live Impact news and more of your breaking feeds from around the world. Hi, folks. Welcome back here to Live Impact News. We do continue to watch our live looks from Air Force Two at Joint Base Andrews, where we know Vice President J.D. Vance is set to depart for Milan, Italy, as the Winter Olympics are about to begin. Opening ceremony Friday. Haven't seen the Vice President quite yet, but we've seen a lot of other folks getting on and off the plane here, so we'll keep an eye on things and we'll let you know if we start to see any big activity. But once again, the Vice President is set to be among several who will be part of the U.S. delegation representing the United States for the opening ceremony Friday. We are, meantime, also watching the latest here, this meeting between First Lady Melania Trump that happened today. It was a private sit-down with American-Israeli hostage Keith Siegel and Aviva Siegel, and this was following their liberation from Hamas. We do know that the Siegels are from North Carolina. Let's listen into a bit of the sit-down.
I would like to welcome Aviva Siegel and Keith Siegel in the White House. Aviva was hostage for 51 days, captured by Hamas on October 7, 2023, and Keith was captured for 484 days. After Aviva was freed, she called me, wanted to see me, and we set up a meeting in New York in January 2025. It was an emotional meeting, and it is captured on camera and available to see in my new film, Melania. It was very emotional. Aviva presented me with 2 of Keith's books, and when I came home that evening, I gave it to my husband and informed him the situation, and I know he was fighting for all of the hostages, and as we know now, all of the hostages are free and home with the families. Aviva was a warrior. She is a warrior. She was fighting very hard for Keith, and I know he suffered a lot. I'm happy to see you healthy at home with your children, with your grandchildren, with your family, and I know you're giving back your time, your energy to other people, so thank you for that.
Thank you.
Would you like to say a few words?
Yes. I want to start by saying thank you to the First Lady, Melania Trump, and to President Trump. I want to thank you for being a caring, compassionate person and for supporting and helping Aviva. During those difficult days, and you helped her enormously in many ways. It's an honor, it's a privilege, and I'm eternally grateful, and I am very grateful to have the opportunity to say that to you in person, sitting next to you. I am eternally grateful to you and President Trump for bringing me home and for bringing all of the hostages back to their families. And I just want to mention the extraordinary mobilization in the fight for Aviva and all of the hostages' freedom, and how it moved me deeply. And it showed us the true meaning of holding on to hope, even in the most difficult moments. Now that I have regained my freedom, and I celebrated 1 year of freedom, being released from captivity this Sunday, I have committed myself to partnering with ISRAID, an Israeli humanitarian aid organization, to help restore hope for others. Giving back is a crucial part of my recovery and rehabilitation process. Aviva and I just came on Sunday, from one of the world's largest refugee camps in Kenya called Kakuma. In Kakuma, ISRAID is providing access to clean water, hygiene, sanitation, and education to thousands of refugees that otherwise would not have any of those. The work of ISRAID has inspired me and given me a new sense of purpose. What a remarkable and amazing accomplishment, bringing all of the hostages back home. And we have a mission ahead of us to help others that are struggling and This is our new mission in life. This is the road we are on. This is our journey. And I also want to end by congratulating you on the release of your movie. So much looking forward to seeing it, and so grateful for you deciding to have Aviva be a part of your movie. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Beautiful. Would you like to say a few words?
I just want to say that I waited for the last hostage to come home to thank you. Because when we met, before Keith came home, you gave me so much hope, and I could feel your heart with me. And I knew how important it was for you to go back home and talk to President Trump and share your feelings. So I want to thank you for that. And I want to thank you for putting me in your special Melania film, because I was there talking to you, not for myself, but for the whole world. Bringing the hostages home was the most important thing that I could think about in this world, and now it's all over the world. The bad things that Hamas did to my husband, but I'm lucky. And thank you, Keith, for staying alive and being with me. And thank you, Melania, for helping. I really appreciate it. I want to just tell you that I decided to write a book, and it's dedicated to my grandchildren that can't hear the stories, because they are very, very hard stories to hear. And in the book, I wrote thank you to Melania, because you helped to bring Keith home, and you helped to bring the hostages home. So I'm thanking you. And in my book, everybody that will read it will understand what happens to somebody that's 64 years old, kidnapped from a home, and went through so many moments that I thought and was sure that I'm going to die. And I'm alive, and I survived to tell. So thank you very, very much. I'll always remember the meeting with you, and I'll always remember your help. Thank you from the bottom of my heart.
Thank you.
And good luck with the film.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Keith.
And we're going to make this world a better world together.
In peace. Sorry?
What did you say to the president after your meeting with Mrs. Siegel?
I gave him the two books that Aviva gave me, and I explained the situation where she thought that Keith was, how he was doing. She didn't have much information, but she knew how much he was suffering because she was with him for 50 days. And I explained to him everything, and I know how hard he was working to release all of the hostages.
As President release any more Ukrainian children? Has President Putin agreed to release any more Ukrainian children?
I'm working on it. And we are in the process, so I hope we have success very soon. I will keep you posted.
Why do you feel it is appropriate to use an official White House event to promote your documentary?
This is not promotion. We are here celebrating the release of the hostages of Aviva and Keith. They were in Washington, D.C. They called me. They said they would like to come over to thank me and to give hugs, and that's why we are here. It has nothing to do with promotion.
Thank you.
We are in contact.
You are contacted.
There's a call from an AFC survivor to have Ghislaine Maxwell move to a high security.
Thank you, Brad.
All right, and that wrapping up here, it was a sit down from today with First Lady Melania Trump, as you saw, with freed American Israeli hostage Keith Siegel and his wife Aviva Siegel. As we mentioned, Keith Siegel is a Chapel Hill native and is from North Carolina. And we will, of course, keep an eye on some of the other feeds that we were sharing with you. We had that live feed from Nancy Guthrie's home, the mother of Today Show co-anchor Savannah Guthrie. It is now the 4th day of the search for her since she went missing on Sunday. And also that live feed that we're watching from Joint Base Andrews, where the vice president is set to depart for Milan just in time for the Winter Olympics beginning. We'll take a quick break. We'll be back in 2 minutes. All right, folks, right now you're looking at live images of Vice President J.D. Vance with his family as they just got off of Marine 2 and are about to get onto Air Force 2. As we've been mentioning throughout the hour, the Vice President is set to be among the U.S. delegation in the Winter Olympics opening ceremony, which will happen Friday. And you can see there the Vice President alongside Second Lady Usha Vance. So we'll keep an eye on that feed, but I suspect in just a few minutes that plane will be departing and we will probably lose this feed. Meantime, though, we continue to follow some of your big headlines from around the region and around the nation. We did see earlier today Democratic leadership making some commentary on the president's policies. Let's listen in as we hear from, first up, Hakeem Jeffries.
We had a very productive discussion, House and Senate Democrats standing together firmly on behalf of the American people. Taxpayer dollars should be used to make life more affordable for everyday Americans, not to brutalize or kill them. ICE is completely and totally out of control. Immigration enforcement should be just, it should be fair, and it should be humane. That is not what is taking place right now. Dramatic changes are necessary at the Department of Homeland Security with respect to its enforcement activities so that ICE and other agencies are conducting themselves like every other law enforcement agency in the country. Not in so many instances in a rogue or lawless manner. There are several demands that we will articulate on behalf of the American people, which of course include but are not limited to mandatory body cameras, judicial warrants, which in our view should be required before everyday Americans are ripped out of their homes or snatched out of cars violently. The Fourth Amendment is not an inconvenience. It is a requirement embedded in our Constitution that everyone should follow. Certainly, I think there's agreement that no masks should be deployed in an arbitrary and capricious fashion, as has been the case, horrifying the American people. And of course, I think the American people believe that ICE shouldn't be able to detain and deport American citizens, which we know is taking place right now. These are just some of the common sense proposals that the American people clearly would like to see in terms of the dramatic changes that are needed at the Department of Homeland Security before there's a full year appropriations bill. It's now my honor to yield to a former distinguished member of the House of Representatives. All good things flow from the House, in our humble opinion.
Before that.
As I was as well.
I know.
And we're both from Brooklyn. But he's doing a tremendous job as the leader of the Senate Democrats, the Honorable Chuck Schumer.
Well, thank you, Hakeem, and let me thank you and my Senate colleagues, our House colleagues, and we had a really good and productive meeting, and we're on the same page. First, what is happening in our cities just turns your stomach inside out. It's not just us. When Americans see the pictures of these goons beating people, pushing people, and even shooting and killing people, they say, this is not America. And what the hell is going on in our cities? It is reminiscent of dictatorship. And when some of these ICE thugs just keep beating and beating and beating a woman who's pushed to the floor? That's un-American. And the American people are on our side. 90% have seen the videos, according to a most recent survey. And they are appalled. And they are urging the Senate and the House, the Congress, and the White House to stop this. And so, Democrats, we have common sense, tough objectives to rein in ICE. And the Republicans need to get serious. 3 broad categories we all agree on. 1, none of these roving patrols. You can't just stop anybody on the street. You can't just pick them up and not even tell them why they're picked up, put them in some dark place, no access to a lawyer or a phone or anything else. You can't, there are certain places they shouldn't be able to go in, churches, synagogues, schools, election places. There should be no racial profiling as these bands of goons roam the streets. That's 1. 2, we need real accountability. There's got to be oversight. There's got to be outside independent oversight by state and local governments, by individuals, and there's got to be a right to sue. There's got to be a right to go to court and stop this. And finally, no secret police. I find it amazing that the Speaker of the House, which are saying they should be allowed to have masks. This group, which needs to be identified more than any other group, should have a standard much more lenient and hidden than other police forces. I would bet when Speaker Johnson goes down to Louisiana, the sheriffs and the police deputies are well identified, as they are in almost every city. So we need cameras, and the cameras have got to be used in the right way. We can't just give them cameras, and you have to be specific as to how they ought to be used. They need identification and no masks except in extraordinary and unusual circumstances. We're united with the American people. We're united as House and Senate Democrats. We're going to have tough, strong legislation. We hope to have it within the next 24 hours that we will submit together. And then we want our Republican colleagues to finally get serious about this, because this is turning America inside out in a way we haven't seen in a very long time. Catherine.
Thank you,
Liv Clark, it says.
That's right. Thank you so much. I am so proud to stand here with my colleagues, united as Democrats, united with the American people, that this violence we are seeing from ICE and CPB agents has to stop. Republicans promised 2 fundamental things. They promised an economy that would work for working people. We've seen how that's turned out. And they promised they would deport and use ICE to go after the worst of the worst. And what are we seeing? Renee Good and Alex Preddy killed in cold blood, executed. Kristi Noem, within hours of their deaths, declared them domestic terrorists. Stephen Miller called Preddy an assassin. But the American people have seen their deaths. They've seen the videos, and they know that this is a cover-up. We've seen an ICE agent tackle an American citizen, a 10th grader, ended up stealing his phone and pawning it for cash. We've seen them use little Liam Ramos, a 5-year-old, one to try and bait people to come out of their houses, and then they send him to detention in Texas. We've seen them tear gas children and peaceful protesters, including a 6-month-old baby. So it is time, And we are united with the American people that DHS and this paramilitary force that they have created and unleashed on our American streets will be held accountable. Americans deserve to be safe and secure in their communities. Children deserve to be safe in their communities and their schools. And families need to know that mass police cannot break down a door just because they want to. There are protections of our laws, of due process, and our Constitution that we are going to stand up for and say no to this violence. This is what this fight is about, and I am proud to stand with Democrats to make sure that we give voice to the fears of Americans for where this country is heading and where this violence is taking us. And I am very proud to have a partner in Vice Chair Murray in this work, and thank her and Rosa DeLauro for all they have done on the appropriations process.
Well, thank you very much. And Mr. Speaker, I did not come from Brooklyn, nor did I come from the House, but I did come here as a mom in tennis shoes who today is very angry about what is happening to families in my community and across the country. Everyone in America with eyes and ears can see what's been happening in Minnesota and across the country. The injustice is clear as day, and what the American people are demanding is equally clear. Law enforcement cannot be lawless, but that's exactly what we have been seeing from ICE and from CBP. We have seen people that have done nothing wrong get abducted by masked agents with no warrant and shipped across the country. We have seen peaceful protesters and observers get tear gassed, tackled, detained, and even killed in cold blood. And we've seen the Trump administration responses grow more unhinged and infuriating by the day. The lies have become completely detached from reality. Enough. We are not going to fund a rogue department with its unchecked agents and officers. We are going to have accountability at DHS, or there will not be Democratic votes to fund a lawless agency. If Republicans refuse to make the changes the American people are demanding, they are forcing a Republican shutdown of DHS. The chaos, the brutality, all of it happened at the explicit direction of this president and a Republican Congress that wrote him a blank check. If Republicans want Democratic votes to fix that, then they need to understand that half measures won't cut it. What Democrats are demanding is reasonable and it is necessary. End the roving patrols. Hold federal agents accountable and hold them to the same standards as local law enforcement on basic things like use of force. Get masks off, get body cameras on, and ensure proper identification. Democrats are at the table. We are focused on getting a bill, but it has to be a bill that reins in the abuses that we are seeing by ICE and CBP. And I'll just say, Democrats, all of us, we are strongly support the mission of FEMA and the Coast Guard in this bill, but the American people are demanding guardrails to rein in ICE and Border Patrol, so that has to happen. Americans demanding accountability, we will settle for nothing less. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Murray. Thank you, Leader Schumer. Thank you, Whip Clark. Thank you to all.
Before we get to any more of this briefing, we do want to take a quick break here on Live Impact. As you mentioned, as you probably saw, I should mention, in the 3 box, we have a few feeds, including just getting underway in the last few moments, a vigil happening in Arizona for Nancy Guthrie, the mother of Today Show co-anchor Savannah Guthrie. Nancy Guthrie went missing on Sunday, and there is an active investigation in an effort to try to get her back after the Sheriff's Department believes she was, quote, possibly taken in the middle of the night, and that includes possible kidnapping or abduction. We'll be right back in 2 minutes with more. All right, welcome back, folks, to Live Impact News. We're going to turn now to a live feed out of Tucson, Arizona, where folks have gathered at St. Philip's in the Hills to pray for the safe return of Nancy Guthrie, the mother of Today's Show co-anchor Savannah Guthrie. Nancy Guthrie has been missing for 4 days. She went missing on Sunday, and it is now the 4th day of the search for her. Let's listen in for a bit.
Lord, have mercy. Lord, have mercy. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory, forever and ever. Amen. Lord, hear our prayer.
Let us pray. Be our light in the darkness, O Lord, and in your great mercy, defend us from all perils and dangers of this night. For the love of your only Son, our Savior, Jesus Christ. Amen. Keep watch, dear Lord, with those who work or watch or weep this night. And give your angels charge over those who sleep. Tend to the sick, Lord Christ. Give rest to the weary. Bless the dying. Soothe the suffering. Pity the afflicted. Shield the joyous. And all for your love's sake. Amen. Most merciful God, we pray for our sister Nancy. Guide her, comfort, and sustain her in this moment of need. Make her to know always the presence of your Holy Spirit in her life. Bring her swiftly to safety and to those whom she loves. Comfort her family, her friends, and loved ones, especially Annie, Cameron, Savannah, and their families, that their minds may be calmed, and their hearts may be stilled, and that they may have the strength to face the days ahead. Amen. Speed the way of those who search for her, that they may work diligently. Amen. And finally, Father, we pray for all those in this nation and around the world who are missing, and the families that mourn their absence. O God, whose fatherly care reaches to the uttermost parts of the earth, we humbly beseech you graciously to behold and bless those whom we love, now absent from us. Defend them from all dangers of soul and body, and grant that both they and we, drawing near to you, may be bound together by your love in the communion of your Holy Spirit and in the fellowship of your saints, through Jesus Christ our Lord. Amen.
Guide us waking, O Lord, and guard us sleeping. You may be seated.
All right, folks, while we're in a lull in this service here, in that vigil for the safe return of Nancy Guthrie, we are going to take a quick break. We'll be back in 2 minutes. We could return with this feed. We are watching a few others, though, around the area. So stick with us, and we'll see you in 2. Hi everyone, Vanessa Rufus here in the Live Impact News studio. We're going to turn back to our dual live feeds. You'll see one on the left-hand side in just a moment of St. Philip's in the Hills in Tucson, Arizona, where folks have gathered to pray for the safe return of Nancy Guthrie. Nancy Guthrie has been missing since Sunday. She's the mother of Today Show co-anchor Savannah Guthrie. On the right-hand side of the box, you'll see a live look at the crime scene. As we know, we're in day 4 of that search, and the FBI and other authorities are involved with trying to track her down. Let's go ahead and bring you now to our 2 box. Okay, folks, with a lull again in the service here, in the vigil for Nancy Guthrie, we will go ahead and take a break. Back in 2 minutes with more here on Live Impact. All right, folks, back here to the Live Impact News studio. We have a breaking update to bring to you just now. Savannah Guthrie, of course, Today Show co-anchor, just released a video within the last few minutes on her Instagram page talking about her mother who is missing. In fact, in the last several minutes, we've been sharing live images of that vigil that's underway as we speak in Tucson, Arizona, as folks are praying for her safe return. And we know Savannah is asking folks and has asked for folks to pray as well. We want to share now that video that she just posted online.
You for the prayers for our beloved mom, Nancy. We feel them, and we continue to believe that she feels them too. Our mom is a kind, faithful, loyal, fiercely loving woman of goodness and light. She's funny and spunky and clever. She has grandchildren that adore her and crowd around her and cover her with kisses. She loves fun and adventure. She is a devoted friend. She is full of kindness and knowledge. Talk to her and you'll see.
The light is missing from our lives. Nancy is our mother. We are her children. She is our beacon. She holds fast to joy in all of life's circumstances. She chooses joy day after day. Despite having already passed through great trials of pain and grief, we are always going to be merely human, just normal human people who need our mom. Mama, if you're listening, we need you to come home. We miss you.
Our mom is our heart and our home. She is 84 years old. Her health, her heart is fragile. She lives in constant pain. She is without any medicine. She needs it to survive. She needs it not to suffer. We too have heard the reports about a ransom letter in the media. As a family, we are doing everything that we can. We are ready to talk. However, we live in a world where voices and images are easily manipulated. We need to know, without a doubt, that she is alive and that you have her. We want to hear from you, and we are ready to listen. Please reach out to us. Mommy, if you are hearing this, you are a strong woman. You are God's precious daughter, Nancy. We believe and know that even in this valley, He is with you. Everyone is looking for you, Mommy, everywhere. We will not rest. Your children will not rest until we are together again. We speak to you every moment, and we pray without ceasing, and we rejoice in advance for the day that we hold you in our arms again. We love you, Mom.
Love you, Mom.
We love you, Mom. Stay strong.
We love you, Mom. We love you.
All right, folks. A really emotional video there from the family of Nancy Guthrie, including Today show co-anchor Savannah Guthrie, pleading for answers and just really speaking to her mother, saying that there's nothing that they won't do to bring her home. So with that, let's go ahead and turn now to the live vigil we see right now in Tucson, Arizona, as we're seeing candles that have been lit inside St. Philip's in the Hills as folks gathered just moments ago to pray for the safe return of Nancy Guthrie. Let's listen in a bit. All right, looks like, folks, they are wrapping up at this moment. We do keep an eye on a live feed that is the live shot just outside of Nancy Guthrie's home as well in Tucson, Arizona. It looks like on this fourth day of the search, as investigators are still there outside the home, that there is a reporter preparing to give a report. I'm checking the time just to see if perhaps this is with the time difference between here on the East Coast and Tucson, perhaps a report for the regular newscast for our news partners out there. So if we start to see that reporter talk, we will definitely get to that feed. Let's go ahead and actually turn back, meantime, to the press conference we had that we had broken into in the middle of to bring you the vigil. But this is with Democratic leadership as they laid out what their demands essentially would be to keep DHS funded for beyond the 2-week mark. You'll remember there was a funding bill that was signed by the president this week, which reopened the government after a partial government shutdown. Okay, we're going to turn to that reporter actually right now in Tucson.
As they're hoping to bring this beloved community member back home, and that's exactly what we heard directly from her family tonight. A very desperate and emotional plea, reaching out directly to a possible abductor. They want to know that their mother is alive. Now, in the last few hours, we saw what appeared to be law enforcement agents get out of this Suburban and go inside the home. They appeared to be carrying a ring light and a tripod, and perhaps it was used to film this video tonight, and perhaps they were right beside them as they reached out to this possible abductor. They say they're aware of the ransom notes and are ready to talk, but they want to know without a doubt that their mother is alive. And so they're calling on that possible abductor to get in touch with them. But they're also thanking people for their prayers. Again, this is a community that's really wrapping their arms around Nancy and the entire Guthrie family. They want this woman to come home. They describe her as a kind, faithful, loyal woman, and emphasized, again, what we've been hearing from the sheriff's office, how much she needs her medicine, that she relies on critical medicine for her heart and her health, and she'd be in pain without it. It's unclear if she has that. We know she has a pacemaker, some cardiac issues that we've learned about, and so they said that they will not rest until she's home. And so the last few hours that we've been out here, it's been very quiet. Law enforcement has been here for several hours now. Again, perhaps inside filming that video right alongside the Guthrie children. Just a heartbreaking thing to watch tonight, Mark and Kribe.
All right, and we'll hang on this for just a moment to see if the anchor there in Arizona asks her a question. Looks like she's nodding, just to see if she provides a few more details on the back end here of this report. All right, and it looks like she's done. All right, folks, we'll take a break here on Live Impact. We'll be back in 2 minutes with more from your breaking news feeds and big headlines from around the nation in just a few moments. Okay, folks, as we return here to Live Impact News, we are going to rejoin an earlier press briefing, which we kind of dipped out of to bring you the vigil for Nancy Guthrie, Savannah Guthrie's missing mother. We are going to rejoin where the Q&A portion started, and it looks like House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries will be taking questions to start.
Leader Jeffries,
Hold on.
Can I just get a level set here before we start these negotiations from Senator Schumer on why Leader Jeffries wasn't initially included in these negotiations, and if you're committed now to moving forward, being at the table together?
The House and Senate are completely and totally on the same page in terms of Democrats. As we've outlined, Leader Schumer and I had a close, positive conversation yesterday about the path forward. We've remained in close contact over the last several days, as we will continue to do. And what you see here is a representation of the entirety of the House Democratic Caucus and the Senate Democratic Caucus, united in reining in an agency, ICE, that's out of control, and a Trump administration that is actually unleashing state-sponsored violence on the American people and on law-abiding immigrant families. That's completely and totally unacceptable, it's unconscionable, and it's un-American. And so Democrats are united in pushing back in the ways that have been articulated. Thanks. Second row.
Oh, I was going to ask, what is the next steps? Are you going to have meetings scheduled with the White House? Who are you negotiating on the other side? We talked to Thune, he said you're talking to Trump. Other people say you're going to talk to Thune.
Let me yield to Senator Schumer.
Look, the bottom line is we're ready to sit down and negotiate but it's got to be strong, it's got to be tough, it's rein in ICE in very serious ways and end the violence. And we hope our Republican colleagues will meet us on that. We haven't, Leader Thune designated the senator from Alabama, but she's got to represent the Republican caucus. And we need the White House on board. We need the Senate Republicans. We need the House Republicans on board. And if real reform, they shouldn't expect our votes. Plain and simple.
Hold on a second. Monin.
The Speaker's already rejected two of your demands, judicial warrants and removing face masks. So if that's still his position, will you vote to shut the government down, shut the Department of Homeland Security down if he sticks to that position?
Mike Johnson and John Thune rejected the notion that the 6 appropriations bills should be divided. They rejected that notion. And I'm thankful for what Leader Schumer and Senate Democrats did, which is to draw a line in the sand and say, no, it's not going to go down that way. And that's why we're at this moment. So understand something. We get it over in the House. Mike Johnson and John Thune aren't working for the American people. They work for Donald Trump. And so many of my colleagues on the other side of the aisle, they function like a wholly owned subsidiary of the Trump cartel. So at the end of the day, listen, Trump understands that the public is not with the administration's cruel and chaotic policies here, and that we actually need to restore law and order as it relates to how we proceed. And we're ready to proceed in good faith.
Are those red lines for you? Are those red lines for you?
Mike Johnson has articulated unreasonable positions. He's actually supporting the notion that mass and lawless ICE agents should be deployed in communities throughout America. That's Mike Johnson's position. That's contrary to what the American people believe should be taking place. Mike Johnson called the Fourth Amendment an inconvenience. It's not an inconvenience. It's part of the fabric and DNA of our country. Just like the First Amendment, yes, even the Second Amendment, the 10th Amendment, the Fourth Amendment, we're standing up for all of these constitutional privileges that have been part of who we are since the very beginning as we celebrate our 250th birthday. Chuck?
I'm just going to say, we're sending them a proposal and we await their response. But I think the American people are going to be amazed that the Speaker says that these secret police should continue to rove around in our cities unchecked.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Leader Schumer, is Trump open to this? Like, does he want to negotiate?
Guys, no running.
All right, folks, once again, wrapping up that briefing with Democratic leadership. They are talking about this discussion that needs to happen now in Congress over the funding of DHS. As I was mentioning before we kind of cut off things to go to the Nancy Guthrie vigil, you had that spending bill that the president signed this week that will fund the government except for DHS. DHS is essentially going to reach a spending cliff in 2 weeks. And one of the things that we're seeing Democrats asking for in order to keep DHS funded are more guardrails on ICE operations, including, you heard them talking about the masking. They want to see that gone, better identification of each agent, and they wanted certain areas as well to kind of be off limits to these immigration enforcement operations. They did mention, churches, schools, voting offices, if you will, or election, sites. And we'll, of course, continue to follow the debate and dialogue over this over the next couple of weeks. With that, speaking of ICE operations, we want to talk about a big update we got from the border czar, Tom Homan, today, discussing a drawdown in Minneapolis, Minnesota, which we know has kind of been under the spotlight when it comes to the ICE enforcement and the ICE presence. Now we're seeing the anticipated withdrawal of hundreds of ICE agents. So let's go ahead and listen into that announcement today.
I'm Tom Homan. I'm the Board of Czar President Trump. I'm here with Sam Olson, Field Office Director for the St. Paul office, and Ron Patello, Senior Advisor to the Commissioner of Customs and Border Protection, Border Patrol. Us three guys got just shy of 100 years in law enforcement, immigration enforcement. I've worked with Ron 30 years ago in Dallas, Texas. He's been with the Border Patrol's entire career. During my press conference last week, I reported I had productive discussions with various state and local officials, including Governor, Attorney General Mayor Frey, and law enforcement officials about increasing coordination in a lawful way between the county jails and ICE to avoid public safety threats being released back in the community. While we had differences, one thing was clear: we all committed to public safety for all who live in the Twin Cities. We have made significant progress under the direction of President Trump, working with state and local officials here in Minnesota, and I expect that to increase in the coming weeks. We continue to have discussions. I'll have discussions this afternoon. We currently have an unprecedented number of counties communicating with us now and allowing ICE to take custody of illegal aliens before they hit the streets. Unprecedented cooperation. And I'll say it again. This is efficient, requires only 1 or 2 officers to assume custody of a criminal alien target rather than 8 or 10 officers going into the community and arresting that public safety threat. This frees up more officers to arrest or remove criminal aliens. More officers taking custody of criminal aliens directly from the jails means less officers on the street doing criminal operations. This is smart law enforcement, not less law enforcement. It's safer for the community, safer for the officers, and safer for the alien. This coordination also makes it far more safe for the Twin Cities. Arresting a public safety threat and the safety and security of a jail is the safest thing we could do. Further, less public safety risks are being released back into the communities, reduces recidivism, so local law enforcement can direct their limited resources to other public safety matters in their community. This is another priority of President Trump. The state prisons already cooperate with ICE on this coordinated transfer of custody, and we thank them for that partnership, and we plan to do more with them. I also want to reiterate and emphasize we are not requiring jails to hold people past their normal release time for immigration purposes. We're not asking anyone to be an immigration officer. We are not asking any state or local official to do immigration enforcement activity. They are not. By merely notifying us before they release them, they don't hold them 1 minute past they normally would. Given this increase in unprecedented collaboration, and as a result of the need for less law enforcement officers to do this work in a safer environment, I have announced effective immediately we will draw down 700 people effective today. 700 law enforcement personnel. We have also fully integrated CBP personnel into the ICRO team structure under one unified chain of command. Not 2 chains of command, there'd be 1 chain of command here. Any large enforcement operation I've ever been involved with, there's 1 chain of command, and that's where we're moving forward. During my press conference last week, I announced that moving forward, ICE will be conducting targeted immigration enforcement operations, like ICE has traditionally done for decades, based on reasonable suspicion to question and detain. ICE will conduct these operations and transnational criminal organization investigations with a focus on national security and public safety. I want to be clear. Just because you prioritize public safety threats don't mean we forget about everybody else. We will continue to enforce the immigration laws in this country. To help execute this, we have developed and implemented a multi-agency surge task force with an operational framework that clarifies lines of effort, integrated enforcement, investigative and special response efforts. A unified joint operations center has been established to manage all operations and ensure efforts align with priorities of the mission. This reorganization also enables ICE to leverage joint intelligence capabilities to effectively target threats, as well as to reduce the overall personnel footprint and enhance public safety and confidence in the agency's capabilities and presence here. I've also ensured that officials from legal and internal affairs offices remain on the ground as long as this operation continues. During our efforts to identify and implement improvements of how operations are planned, conducted, and managed, we identified a gap in regard to the use of body-worn cameras. And this was actually raised by the workforce when I started walking around talking to people here. Some officers and agents had them, some didn't. That inconsistency was unacceptable, so we moved immediately to prioritize full body cam deployment in the city. I discussed this with Secretary Noem a couple of days ago, and she made the decision to deploy them. The plan is to deploy them nationwide, but it's a priority for the city right now. There's actually $20 million in the spending bill to further fund the deployment of body cameras. The President is supportive of this decision because we have nothing to hide. We want to be fully transparent in what we do. The American people seek and deserve professional and trustworthy law enforcement, and I and the President expect that any misconduct will not be tolerated and will be swiftly addressed. The integration, structuring, and resources we have implemented would help ensure accountability and that targeted enforcement operations have a focus on national security threats and public safety threats, and they are conducted effectively, safely, and appropriately. Again, this is smarter enforcement, not less enforcement. For those who are not a national security threat or public safety risk, you are not exempt from immigration enforcement actions. If you're in the country legally, you are not off the table. And let me be clear, President Trump fully intends to achieve mass deportations during this administration, and immigration enforcement actions will continue every day throughout this country. President Trump made a promise, and we have not directed otherwise. I heard rumors we have, untrue. Given that many public safety threats on our communities, many of which poured across the border during the Biden administration, it makes sense to prioritize public safety risks right now. Again, prioritization doesn't mean you forget about everybody else. But we have a criminal here, a non-criminal here. The criminal has to be arrested first because they're the biggest threat to the community. My goal with the support of President Trump is to achieve a complete drawdown and end this surge as soon as we can. But that is largely contingent upon the end of the illegal and threatening activities against ICE and its federal partners that we're seeing in the community. We will not draw down on personnel providing security for our officers. I will not let our officers be put at risk. So we will not draw down on personnel providing security and responding to hostile incidents until we see a change in what's happening with the lawlessness of the impeding and interfering and assaulting of ICE and Border Patrol officers. It is against the law to forcibly assault, resist, oppose, impede, intimidate, and interfere with federal law enforcement, including ICE officers and Border Patrol agents. Doxing law enforcement to threaten them and their families because they're executing their sworn duties to enforce immigration law that Congress passed is unacceptable. And it's shameful and incomprehensible to me that this unlawful and threatening behavior is being tolerated by anyone. As far as what I saw yesterday with the roadblocks being set up, you're not going to stop ICE. You're not going to stop Border Patrol. The only thing you're doing is irritating your community and want to go get groceries or pick their children up or whatever. I talked to the chief of police, and he committed to taking swift action on those illegal roadblocks. They're illegal, and we shouldn't tolerate them. Again, a complete drawdown is going to depend on the cooperation, continued cooperation of local and state law enforcement, and the decrease of the violence, the rhetoric, and the attacks against ICE and Border Patrol.
All right, folks, and our time here on Live Impact is coming to a close. We do want to mention that we've got a great lineup for you over the next couple of hours, leading up, of course, to the news at 11 here on WCNC+. We've got up next for you the origins of Black history, and you can see just before an 11 o'clock news, the countdown to kickoff, previewing the Super Bowl as Seahawks rookies are getting ready for the big game. We'll see you for the news at 11.